Hello and welcome to Thyros Web Development Tips and Tutorials. Today we will be building this amazing responsive timeline using Tailwind CSS. So this is what it will look like on tablets, on small desktops, and on larger desktops. Are you excited? Let's get started. Here is a Tailwind CSS starter template that I will be using because I don't want to manually install Tailwind CSS. And since I'm not using any other framework, this helps me install Tailwind CSS as a post CSS plugin. I have included this link in the description below, so you can also clone this repository to start with this project. So I copy this link, open terminal, let me cd into desktop, and here I say git clone, paste, and let me call my project timeline Tailwind CSS. It's creating a new project. It's done. cd timeline Tailwind CSS. And let me open this in Visual Studio Code. So I type code space dot. Here's the project. So let me open a new terminal within Visual Studio Code. And first thing, we need to npm install so that all our dependencies are installed. So you see we have auto prefixer, post CSS, Tailwind CSS. And now let me do npm run build once. So this builds our distribution style sheet. And here within the public folder is the index.html that we need to currently edit. Now let me open this up using live server. Open with live server. So if you see this beautiful gradient, Tailwind CSS is successfully installed. Let me go back to the code. And now let's get started. I'll remove all this and let me rename this to timeline using Tailwind CSS. Okay. The way I would like to start is add this class anti-aliased to body because I want the fonts to look better, and I want a background of a very light gray, so BG gray 100. Also, I want the text to be of a dark gray, not black, so text gray 800. Now, let's have a container div. So with Tailwind, we have this container class that limits the width instead of making it completely fluid. And also I like to have this container in the center of the page, so I say mx auto. And currently you don't really see anything except for a light gray background. Let me start with mobile first. So using the responsive mode, I would like to start with mobile first. Let me also add a horizontal padding to this container. And now within this, let's start with a div inside which we have an image and content next to that. So I will take an image from pixels. Let me just pick it up directly by giving a height 100 here. So copy this and paste it here. Now I want this to be of height maybe h24, that's 96 pixels, and width 24. Also, because you notice this is not exactly a squarish image, we need to use object fit property. So object fit cover is what I'd like to use. That makes it fit it into this square without changing the aspect ratio. I want a circle image, so I'll say rounded full. I want some shadow MD. I also want some white border, which is maybe 4 pixels thick, and border white. So let's see what this looks like. Yes, this is what I need. And now coming to the content, let me add another div here, and within this comes a white background container for my content with a padding of maybe p6 and rounded corners, maybe rounded MD, and then shadow MD. Let me just add some lorem ipsum text for now. And what does this look like? All right, we have something here. Now we need a small arrow mark a pointing triangle here. For that, there are multiple ways to do it, but because Tailwind doesn't have before and after selector support, we could either use custom CSS to add that, or what I would like to do is actually add another div for that. And for accessibility reasons, I would give this an area hidden true. Now let me add some class. I will make a square image and then rotate it by 45 degrees. So we have a pointed triangle. For that I say h4w4 transform rotate 45 and bg white. So let's see what this gives us. Yes, we have this. Now we just need to position this correctly. So to do that, let me give this an absolute position for which its parent needs to be positioned relatively. So div class relative, and then here let me say inset 0 but left of maybe 10. Let's see. Okay, so we need to push this down to be able to see the triangle. For that, let me add a padding top of 2. Yeah, this looks perfect. Now let's create this vertical line of the timeline. For that, let me come here and add an absolutely positioned div. Again, because I'm giving absolute position here, this container, which is its parent, needs to have relative position. So absolute width maybe 2 and height full, BG white, and then a shadow MD. Also left say 10, inset 0 as well. So okay, that's here. We need to obviously adjust the Z index. Let's do that in a moment. Before that, left 16, let me try. Almost there. So I think left 17 would be perfect, but since we don't have 17, we will have to use the config file and add 17. So let me go to tailwind.config.js, and the way you add additional values to left, right, top and bottom is by using the inset property name. So inset 17, and this would be 68 pixels because the general convention followed is 17 into 4, and this is in REMs. So now we can add left 17. This will take a moment to refresh. Oh, I didn't do npm run watch, so it's not watching the changes to config file. This is important. So npm run watch. Now it will watch the files and build automatically when there's a change. So now let me change it back to 16 and 17. Yes, so we have it here in the center, but just that we need this line to go behind the image. We could give a relative class to this whole div and add a z-index of 10, while this could have a z-index of 0. Yes, we are not able to see the line, but it's right here. Okay, next Let me add one more such set of image and this container. So we'll see that things are taking shape. Copy this whole thing and paste it below. So you see that there is no gap between the image and its previous container. For that, what we do is let's add a flex to the parent div and flex direction column, flex call, and add some space in the vertical direction. So space y maybe 8. That should look good. Yes, so now you're also able to see the line. This is great. Let me remove this because it'll complicate things for us. Now that we know this is what it looks like, let's add it back later. And now this works. So we have our very small mobile appearance done. But what about slightly bigger mobile device? So here we can add this container to the right itself, and maybe above 480 pixels we can add this to the right. So we can have an excess breakpoint. Tailwind has the smallest breakpoint Tailwind has is SM, but I feel it's nicer to have an even smaller breakpoint. But to customize breakpoints, let's go to the documentation and search breakpoints. And here, what we'll have to do is we'll have to actually copy this entire thing. I'll tell you why in a moment. Put it here within theme. Make sure you add a comma here. I would like to remove all the comments. And then here, before the SM breakpoint is where we need to add an excess breakpoint. So instead of adding all of this, if you just extend it, things will get messed up. It will not work as expected because it will add the excess breakpoint after 2XL, which is not how things work. So let's add the 480 pixels breakpoint. Now we have XS breakpoint available. And so at XS breakpoint, what I would like to do is make this image absolutely positioned so that this div moves up. The way we do this is XS absolute. So that works. Now let's move this to the right by adding a padding left to this parent container. Again, only at XS breakpoint. So a padding left of, let's try 20. That's a little less. So 28. Okay, that does it. Now we need to push this back up. We had added a padding of 2. So at XS breakpoint, we remove the padding. So padding top 0. So now it's aligned. Now it's time for this square or the triangle to come here, for which we need to say XS top 11, left 11. Sorry, again at XS breakpoint itself. Oh no, not 11. I think it's a lot more. So maybe 24. A little more. But I don't think 28 will do it. No. We might need something like 26. So let's again add that here. 26. And this would be 108. 104 actually. 104 pixels. Yes. Now we have it positioned correctly. And this will work for the other divs that you add as well because it'll have the same styles. This is great. So further going ahead, at this point we would want the timeline to actually look like the timeline where the alternate containers are on the right and the left side, for which we will need this line to be at the center. How do we do that? And this is MD breakpoint. So coming to this line, at MD breakpoint, what we do is we do MX auto, so horizontal margin auto, and then also we do a right 0 and a left 0. This is how you center an absolutely positioned element. This is one of the ways which is convenient for us right now. So let's see if this works. Yes, we have the line in the center. We need to do the same with the image as well. So come here and say MD, let me close this, MD MX auto, MD left 0, MD right 0. Okay. Yes, the image is actually in the center, we just can't see it. And now this container needs to occupy only 50% of the width right now. So what we do is come down here and say at MD breakpoint width 1 by 2. This is a very amazing utility from Tailwind. Also, we want it positioned on the right, so we can say margin left auto. This pushes it to the right. Yes, we have it here, just that we don't need so much padding now. We can reduce the padding at MD breakpoint and this also at MD breakpoint. So MDPL maybe 14, almost. It could be 16. All right. And where is the triangle now? Let me inspect element. All right, it's somewhere here. So we change the left position of this. So again at MD breakpoint left 14, let's say. That's perfect. All right, we don't need to change anything for the LG or the XL breakpoint. It's all perfect. Now we just need to add two more such image and text. But before we do that, let's extract all these classes into the CSS file using the apply directive, because we're going to repeat these classes, and even if we want to change one style anywhere, one class, we'll have to repeat it 2 times, which is not good. So let me call this a timeline image class. Let's cut all of these from here. Instead, open the custom style sheet, and within a layer components, let me add, sorry, it's timeline image, apply, and I will paste all of the classes right here. Also, this, let's call this a timeline container. Copy all this and timeline container, apply, paste it. Let's also extract all of these, call it timeline pointer. Again, apply, paste, done. Okay, let's just make sure nothing has changed. It's yet to refresh. Yes. All right, nothing has changed. Now coming back, let's copy this and paste it 2 more times. All right. Okay. Right. So now you notice at the MD breakpoint, we need to push the alternate ones on the left. Okay. So what we do is for the second one here, let me give another class, timeline container left, and let's add some styles to this. Timeline container left, and here instead of ML auto we say ML0. We'll have to reset that, so ML0 and MR auto instead, and instead of PL16 we need to again set that to 0. We can say PR16. This will take a moment. Alright, and now we also need to add another class for the pointer. So timeline pointer left, and here timeline pointer left will have MD left auto because it has to reset left 14, left auto, and instead we do a right 14. And yes, this is great. So we have the timeline structure all set up. Now we can easily change these images and the text to get our output. So let me take 2 more photos from pixels. So we have all 3 different images. Let's change the content now. Wrap the lorem ipsum text within p tags. And let's add some span for the date. So let's say Jan 2021, and then a H1 with say an amazing travel. Let me remove some words here. Add some classes. So font bold, text indigo 600, text SM, tracking wide, just adding some letter spacing here. And then for H1 class text XL, font bold, and maybe a little padding on top. For the paragraph, a little more padding on top. Maybe this much will do, and this could be text to XL. Yeah, that looks good. Let's do the same for all the 3 divs. You could again choose to extract classes, but since we have just a few, I wouldn't do that. So here we go. We have this wonderful timeline that is responsive. So try this out, make modifications, let me know in the comments how you liked it. Thank you for watching. Hit a like and share this video ahead. If you enjoyed watching this, don't forget to subscribe below and turn on the notifications so you won't miss a single video from Tyrus.